So master your mind. What does that mean, and how can this video specifically help you to overcome the challenges with your mind most likely being in control of you rather than you being in control of it? So if this is your first time on a 10-10 movement video, a big welcome to you, and if you're returning once again, welcome back. So yes, master your mind. Look, the truth is probably, and I actually go probably, it's 95% plus people's mind is in control of them, or what we could call their mind is out of control. So, you know, we'd have to go perhaps into the mind, how it all works, but let's keep it simple. In this video, we're looking at a way to find out what it is stored unconsciously in our bodies that may be controlling our mind. Now, if you've been into any sort of personal or spiritual development, many therapies, what they'll do is take you directly back to your childhood. And there's a very good reason for that. It's actually said that your mind, the out of control mind, sometimes I call it the egoic mind, that's your, what I call your representative here on planet Earth. It is absolutely not the real you. It's a sort of like a protection system there to keep you safe, but it's the style or the methodology that the ego mind uses to keep you safe very much keeps you locked in a prison. Now, the thing is, you actually have the keys to let yourself out of that prison. The challenge is, if you were to let yourself out, the big wide world can look very, very scary. So, to many, the egoic mind keeps us locked in this cage where it feels safer than if we were, even though we've got the keys, to let ourselves out. So one of the things to do is to identify specific emotions, I always call them, emotions, energies you could call it, that are trapped in our body that the ego mind is utilizing to keep us locked in the prison so that we feel safe. Now, if we, identify what those core emotions are, and we're looking for, I always say start with 2 or 3. It's likely that we've got locked in our psyche as many as 10 or 12. There is actually around about 350 different emotions that have got what I call a negative tag, because some people say to me, but surely all emotions are not negative. So I would say, for the purpose of this sort of type of learning, that emotions with a negative tag we'll call negative emotion. The rest, like what we might call positive emotions, I always call states of being, like a state of happiness, a state of fulfillment, a state of being, a state of love. These are different. Then the difference between negatively tagged emotions and these states of being is that the negatively tagged emotions contain a mixture of chemicals which we inadvertently make within ourselves, which contain the fight and flight chemicals and hormones, mostly adrenaline and cortisol, which keep us in a state of self-preservation, a place of reaction, and certainly a place of negativity, a place of sort of nervousness. It's where we're checking in all the time to make sure we're safe. Now, the truth is, in any one moment, like this moment now, if I said to you, are you in any danger? Most people would say to me, well, no. The problem is your body set in a place where it's ready to protect itself? In other words, have we got the fight and flight hormones in our system right now when actually there's no need for them to be there? So we have like an imaginary or an illusionary state going on inside of us that has us on guard. So with that said, one of the ways to bring out and learn about this trapped emotionality, which is, to be fair, mostly trapped from our childhood, I have like a technique which I've used on thousands and thousands of people to bring to the surface these negative emotions that are probably trapped in our psyche. Because the truth is, if they remain trapped in our psyche or our unconscious, as we might call it, then actually you're always going to remain on guard. So one of the tricks is to bring them to the surface so that we can let them go. Now, once they're not any longer in your body, then you have the opportunity to live what I call a 10 out of 10 life experience. But all the time they're there, and we're filtering our external experiences through those emotions, the challenge is we're never going to get to a 10 out of 10. We're going to hang out around halfway generally, depending on what those emotions are for you. And remember, everybody's an individual. They've all had individual situations, circumstances, individual childhoods that have created this psyche that is in this reactive emergency state, as I call it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a process. Now, we could call this a meditation. It's a type of meditation, but its direct purpose is to bring to the surface these emotions which actually we no longer need. So I've said to many people, look, imagine, what's your number one emotion? A lot of people will say, well, frustration or anger are common ones, yeah? So I often say to them, so imagine your life right now with no more frustration. Imagine all frustration like evaporated, disappeared, and was no longer in your body. How exactly would your life be different? Well, of course, it would be like, it's like a revelation if that could happen. And I always say it's easy to say, but not so simple to do. So what we have to do is work on ourselves to bring them to the surface so that we can let them go. All the time they're buried, it's actually really difficult to let them go. And the ego will hold on to them because it's part of the ego's protection system. So it doesn't want you to let them go, because like without them, then it would feel like you are in danger. So it won't want to let them go. So I often use an example which is a bit extreme, but hold on to your seats, because this example is a good example of what could possibly happen if we brought these emotions to the surface and then let them go. So, have you ever had slightly too much to drink? Now, I'm sure we've got some non-drinkers here, or people that have never had a drink, but that's not true for most people. So if you've had one drink too many, one of the consequences of that is that you start to feel a bit nauseous, a bit, sick. It's like, okay, I think I'm going to vomit. Now, I would always ask people this question. So when you think you're going to be sick, what do you do? Well, the number one thing we do is we tend to try to quell that experience. We tend to try not to be sick. We tend to move around a bit more slowly. We might have little sips of water. We sort of leave the alcohol alone, have a little sip of water, maybe go and get some air. What we're trying to do is we're trying to suppress this feeling of being sick or vomiting, yeah? Now, I always say to people, now supposing you are sick, eventually, sometimes if we've overdone it, it's an inevitability. And ultimately we've got our heads down the loo and we're vomiting away. Now, after a minute or two, all of that stuff that was inside us is now down the loo. And suddenly, what happens? We actually suddenly feel a little bit better. Because the truth is, the body knew that this stuff inside of us, somehow it needed to leave our body. And when it's gone, we magically feel better. Almost anyone you'll ever ask, once you've been sick, do you actually feel worse, the same, or feel better? And they all tell you they feel better. Now, could it be that emotions that are trapped are a bit like that? They've been there for a very long time though. They're much more subtle. But imagine if suddenly they came to the surface and we vomited them down the toilet. Could it be that you actually would feel better? So that's the idea of this exercise. We are going to do what we can to bring those emotions to the surface, and then boom, we're going to throw them away. So here's how we do it. First thing we need to do is we need to sit quietly, and it is a sort of a form of a meditation, so it's very good to do this with your eyes closed. So just take a seat, sit down. If you really want to play full out and get rid of whatever it is trapped in your body, probably been there since you're very, very little. Imagine never having that again. Let's evoke it and see if we can get rid of it. So sitting quietly, eyes closed. Before we start, let's just take a few deep breaths. We're going to do 3 deep breaths, yeah? And what this does is actually reduces our stress level, reduces the adrenaline and cortisol that's in our system, even though there's not an emergency. It's like for most people, it's hidden there, yeah? So what we do is we breathe in our mouth and out our mouth. Bit of an unusual breathing system, but it works quite well. So what we do is we're going to breathe in like this. It's what I call a conscious breath. It's a real sucking air through our mouth, and you can actually feel it go down your windpipe. And we want it to hang out in our area around our heart, in our lungs. And what this does is it fills your lungs really well with oxygen, and the heart then pumps that around your body. And this gets rid of adrenaline and cortisol very quickly. Also puts your brain and heart in synchronization. And when it's in synchronization, we become much, much calmer. For most people, they're out of sync, should we call it, yeah? So we're going to breathe in our mouth like that, consciously, and then we're going to breathe out consciously as well. So a bit like this. We're going to hold it for 5, and then we're going to breathe out. So we're going to do that 3 times. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. And out. Just relax. And in. And out. And in. And relax and out. Now, with your eyes closed, just imagine the first house you remember growing up in when you were a child. This may be the house you were born in, and it may not, but just remember what I call your childhood house. And just stand outside the house and just observe the house. I always say, go over the other side of the road and look at this house. Now, if you're born in a flat, then look up at your flat. Wherever you were, stand outside and observe your home when you were a child. Now, as you observe that home, let's move towards the front door. And as we move towards the front door and get closer and closer, we notice the front door is actually closed, but it's on the latch. And what we're going to do is we're going to push the door and we're going to go inside your childhood house. So that's it. Just enter into this house. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our way to what we might call the lounge, the area, the living area, the main living area. And just go into that room and have a good look around. Notice the colour of the room. Maybe notice the colour of the carpet. Maybe notice the seating arrangement. Is there a TV in the room? Is this a place where the family used to gather in this house? If it is, just take it all in. What colour are the curtains? Remember everything that you see. Everything. Just take it all in. See everything you see. Notice everything you notice. And as you take that room in, let's make our way from that room and let's make our way to the kitchen. That's it. This is the room where the food in your house was prepared. So just stand in the kitchen and observe everything. What sort of floor does it have? Where are the windows? Is there a door out into a garden or a balcony? Where's the cooker? Is there machines, other machines, fridges, washing machines? Is there a table where the family might have eaten? Just take it all in. Where might you have washed your hands at the sink? That's it. Just remember everything you can remember and see it in your mind's eye. Take it all in. And once we've taken all that in, we're going to make our way to your bedroom. Now, in my case, that was up the stairs. So I'm going to go up the stairs, wherever it was for you, and make your way to your bedroom door. And now just push the door and go inside your childhood bedroom. And notice everything you notice. See your small bed. Notice the wallpaper, the floors. Can you see your toys? Where did you keep your toys? What's at the window? What other furniture is there? Just take it all in. Notice everything you notice, see everything you see. Feel what it was like in that bedroom of yours. Did you, like I did, sleep with a sibling? I slept with my brother. Separate room, we had bunk beds. What was it like for you? So now we're going to make our way from your bedroom and we're going to go to your parents' bedroom. If you were brought up by your parents, if you weren't, whoever was your looker after, go to their room, okay? So now we're in our parents' room, or the person who looked after us room. Have a good look at this room. Take it all in. Feel what you feel. See what you see. Notice the colour of the room, the bed they slept in, the furnishings, the windows. What if you looked out of that window, what would you see? Just take it all in. And now from your parents' bedroom, let's make our way to the bathroom. The place where you would bath, shower, wash, whatever that was like for you. And as we walk in the bathroom, notice the colour of the tiles on the wall, the bathroom suite, the bath, the shower, whatever you had, the toilet, the sink. Where did you clean your teeth? Did you have a little step that you stood on? Is there frosted glass in the window? Take in everything you can take in. Do you remember having a bath or a shower or a wash at the sink? Just remember everything that happened in that room for you as a child. That's it. You're doing great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of seconds to wander around the rest of the house and open any doors we haven't already looked into, the rooms we haven't looked in. So that's it. Just go and make your way around the house and pop in any other rooms. Just open the door, pop your head round, see what you see, and then close the door again and come back out. And do that to every room that we haven't already been to. And then when you've popped your head round the corner of every room in the house, just make your way back to the front door. That's it. Let's all make our way back to the front door. And now let's just open the door, go outside, close it. Maybe notice the colour of the front door. Has it got a bell, a knocker, a letterbox? Just notice everything you notice about the door. And then turn around and walk away and go over to the other side of the street and turn back and look once again at your childhood house. Now I want you to imagine over the front door there's a sign. It's sort of an arch-shaped sign and it's empty. But if we were able to write just 3 words on that sign that were to describe the energy that's in that house, or the emotions that come to the surface for you when you go in that house and think about that house and come outside, what 3 words would you write on your sign that would describe your childhood house? And then just allow those words to come into your world. And then just take a deep breath. Maybe grab a pen, or if you can type on something, your phone or something. And it's worth just writing those 3 words down. Okay? And then just come back. Let's have a bit of a shake out. Get rid of some of that feeling. Now, I can give you some stats. I've done this exercise with hundreds, if not thousands of people. And I can tell you, if I do it with a room full of people, you know, does the energy stay the same? Does the feeling of the energy stay the same? Does the energy go up and everybody gets more excited? Or does the energy go down and it gets a bit, whoa, it's heavy energy? Well, I can tell you, whatever room I've ever done it in, the energy goes down. And I've asked hundreds of people to share with me their 3 words. And I can tell you pretty accurately that on average, if people have done what I call personal or spiritual development, in other words, they've worked on themselves to understand how they operate and see if they can improve that way they operate and have a better experience of life, these people tend to have better words. Maybe they'll have one negative word and a couple of positive ones. You know, some people have 3 positive words. But when I've taken people literally off of the street and done this as an exercise, they didn't know it was going to happen. They may have come to something that I was doing and they didn't even know what's going on, and they come in and then I tell this story and do this exercise. I can assure you that about 80% of those people have 3 negative words, which is incredible, isn't it? So just think, we can delete the positive words, and if you've got all positive words, to be honest, you're doing great. You might just, for the exercise's viewpoint, go, right, okay, that maybe didn't work for me. What emotions commonly come to the surface? In other words, something happens outside of myself. How do I respond? How do I react? What's the emotion that is first there? And just make a note of that if you've got 3 positive words. Now, if you've got 3 negative words, what we're going to do is we're going to take those 3 negative words and we're going to work with them. Because the truth is, for you to be able to do that, wander around that house and have that experience of those words, you're feeling those in your body to write on your sign, could it be that those energies are still stuck inside your world? And think about it for a moment. If you were to get rid of those, how would your life be different? And most people get, you know, somewhat excited when they think about not having those words in their world, because our world tends to operate through those, or the external world gets filtered through those emotions. Yeah, and this challenges and keeps our score much lower than a 10 out of 10. So if we want to move towards living at the 10 out of 10, we have to work on getting rid of this. Now, if we want to read something, which I encourage you to do, the work of Dr. David Hawkins has always blown me away. It's one of my favourite bits of work. His book called Power versus Force. It's a bit of a tough read, but if you can fight your way through it, you will learn about this part of you, how it works, how your egoic self works, and it's a very useful tool in moving you towards a 10 out of 10 lifestyle. Now, when you go to Amazon to buy that book, you know what Amazon are like. They go, people that bought this book also bought this book. And his second book, there are 3 in the series, but I just get the first 2. And the second book is actually called Letting Go. It's a phenomenal book. It's much easier to read. Some people end up reading Letting Go and they don't bother with the first one. But if you can hack your way through the first one, I'd get into the second one as well, because it literally starts talking about what needs to happen for you to let this go. And look, it's a journey. Are we going to, you know, crack it and get rid of these straight away? I always go, well, how long have you had them? How long have you had these emotions? You know, they're not likely to leave your body in a fraction of a second. And I'm not saying it can't be done, because it can. And there's some very skilled people out there that can help you do that. But if we're in it for the long haul, and I've seen some very skilled people do things with people, seemingly this stuff goes away, but given a bit of time, it comes back. So for it to be gone long term, generally it takes long term effort, and that's why I sometimes say it's simple to say but not so easy to do. So we have to be prepared to, you know, learn about ourselves, study about how we work as a human, and then as we study in its own way, where the ego, once it knows how things work, it starts to let go naturally. So that's quite interesting. So if you were going to let this go, I learned from another amazing lady who wrote a book in the 1920s. Her name is Florence Scovel Shinn, and she wrote a book. She wrote several books, but she wrote a book called The Game of Life, and I'd encourage it. It's about 100 pages. It's not a big thick book. You can buy some books which are combo books of hers, but really you just need the little thin one called The Game of Life. And in it, the opening gambit is, which is one of my favourite things, is she says, many people see life as a battle, when how would it be? It's a game. So how would your life be different if indeed we got rid of these negative trapped emotions and suddenly we had the change of perception that actually life's a bit of a game? You know, if it was a game rather than a struggle, how might I play the game differently? So that's a great question that she asked, and I encourage you to get that book too. So we're getting a bit of a reading pile here, learning about yourself. Now, one of the things that she uses is an age-old tool, and she did this in the 1920s before, you know, so many things were ever invented. But you know, certainly like coaching, all of that stuff, you know, was not even invented. So, you know, she was very early doors in this sort of world of personal spiritual development. But one thing she teaches is the use of affirmations. And look, I tested and tried affirmations, another one called incantations, which I learned through Tony Robbins. He's an interesting character in the personal development field. He was my very first mentor, amazing, loved everything I learned from him, and obviously ended up having lots and lots of teachers, as you do, and I've learned and integrated and lived a completely different life since I started to learn this stuff. So in the long term, short term, you know, you've got to put the work in, be consistently committed to, you know, make new decisions, test out new things, try them on and stuff like that. But I would test some affirmations, and one of the affirmations that you know, Florence Scovel-Shinn used, which I really like, is these following words. So she used infinite spirit, cast my burden of. So infinite spirit, cast my burden of, and then you put in your negative words. Now, if you've got 3 negative words, you pop them in there. So infinite spirit, cast my burden of, boom, 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 whatever your 3 words are. And literally, you know, if you use that as an affirmation, then literally you are finding a way. And I always go, infinite spirit, cast my burden of, and then literally I like pretend to, let's throw it away. I don't need this stuff anymore. I'm done with it. It's looked after me. It's kept me safe, but I no longer need it. So that's the sort of way that I approach that. Now, there is other parts of the affirmation that you can add in. Things like, and open my universal consciousness, and this is like expand your consciousness to a greater degree than it currently is. And then in there you can sort of share what you do want. You'll see some of this in sort of like stuff like The Secret, law of attraction type stuff, where you're stating in the positive exactly how you want your life to be right in this moment. So that's an actually, I've helped lots of people do that. It's very powerful stuff as well. So we're doing get rid of the negative, then describe how you want it to be. You have to sort of step into that, to be fair. So you have to be that person now. You can't be over here in negative state and want something over here. You have to like step into that person who feels that in their body, yeah? And then at the end, instead of, if it was like a prayer, we'd say something along the lines of amen. But in the case of this affirmation, we say, as is my divine right. As is my divine right. So there's 3 steps. So infinite spirit, cast my burden of, boom, 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 your negative words. Open my universal consciousness to this, and you write a bit of a sentence of how you want it to be, step into that, and then you say, as is my divine right. So it's like sending the universe a bit of an order rather than a please help me. That's a different energy. Yeah? So anyway, look, there you go. That's one way that I've learned that you can move towards living a more 10 out of 10 life. I promise you, if you play full out, stay consistently committed to this, then you will feel that change. So that's it for today. Trust that's been useful. Please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button if you've enjoyed this. Obviously, share it with your friends. Anyone that you know that's like a bit low in energy and could feel with a bit of a boost, share it with them. Just hit the share button. You can share it with, you know, people in your Facebook and your wherever you are on social media or Instagram, and they'll get to see this video. And also hit the notification bell, because that will mean every time my amazing wife Nikki V or myself make a video, which is twice a week, you'll get a little notification pop up on your phone or your tablet or your laptop, whatever it is you use, telling you there's another video up there to move you, or to assist you, should we say, to move you more towards living a 10 out of 10 lifestyle. So that's it from me, Tony V. I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.